Hey, what's up, racing fans? Back here with our 1989 Jaguar XJS V12. And as you can see, we got our injector pack out and fuel rail. And the reason for that is the brittleness of the fuel hoses. So bringing up to speed, I started the car. Here she is right here, as you all know. Flushed fuel tank out, new battery, clean the engine, WD-40, degreaser, stuff like that. Same old tried and true method, orange glow. Everything good for the environment, obviously. And primed the fuel pump, tested the fuel accumulator, well, the pressure regulators there, and fired up. Ran great for about 5 minutes. Started smelling like some paraffin smell. So it was that old oil that had been in there. I don't know how many years, 15 years or so. So I decided to be on the safe side, go ahead and shut it down. And so what I've got today is an update, because it's been a couple of weeks since I've updated. I have flushed the coolant hoses. I did not replace any of the coolant hoses. I just put some cheapo everyday Prestone in there, because the stuff that came out was pure green Jaguar and it was old. And that's Jaguar coolant is expensive. Now, I didn't do anything with the brakes because the car's been sitting here. So as far as the fluids, coolant, and I've done the engine oil. And I went ahead and just used some of that Valvoline Blue. It's full synthetic. Got, 2050 in there. So using that instead of 1040, obviously with the heat on these V12s, I think that's going to be, and anyway, that's going to be the first oil change. And the filter, I'm using a Wix on there, and that's what came off. So I think everybody's using the standard stuff on these V12s out there on these Jaguar cars. So, get them at whatever your favorite auto parts store is, but the tried and true method on the forums is use what works best for you. All right, so I've got the fuel rail off. I've got the spark plug wires off, the distributor cap, and I took the coil off. And using the method on Living with a Classic, thank you very much, thumbs up to you, sir, of our tried and true Jaguar tool there, the 2x4 air conditioning pump and clutch compressor adjustment device, so we can get to the front spark plugs. Now, this car is going on 40 years old, and there was so much crud down here in the Valley of Death. And boy, I'll tell you what, I wasn't about to pull those spark plugs out and get all that old gunk and goo down in there. So I've spent a majority of this morning taking air compressor, WD-40, degreaser, a wire brush, a bristle brush, and going all through this. And I've got that top of that engine as clean as I'm gonna get it. I've still got my compressor, so I'm gonna come back and blow out the little indentions for the spark plugs, and then we'll try to get one of those out. Now, back over to the shop table here. I was able to find, right before Christmas, what NGK calls for and Jaguar calls for, the BR70 FS 1094s. And these are, I made sure too, because some of them are just the stock ones, not iridium or anything like that. So the ones you want to look for, they have NGK-R. See that little R right there? And then obviously there's your part number there. Reason for that is these are the standard spark plugs. No iridium, none of that, Think back on the old Champion spark plug days. Remember those in your grandpa and stuff? So reason for that, this has a Lucas injection system, an ignition system. So, and everything on this damn car is Lucas. I'm going to show you on the bottom of the throttle sensor there. Look at that. Made in England, Lucas. Everything on here is Lucas. So I am going to use what Jaguar calls for stock. I'm not going to go to that expensive iridium where you're spending, $12, $13 a spark plug. I was able to find all 12 of these for I think it was $22. And I found them on eBay, believe it or not, with a 20% discount, and they came out of Portland, Oregon, and I got them in like the next day. The other thing I did is, because of the fuel lines on this old Jaguar, I went ahead and ordered the Mr. Injector replacement grommet pintle fuel injection hosing kit. Now, with that kit, you get, you know, all your pintle caps, all of your seals that go down in your intake housing. You get your intake housing, the large grommet that goes underneath your little collar here. And then obviously, you know, these set on there and they clamp that collar down on and compresses that and that. And then your pintle here, okay? I'm not gonna use these. I'm gonna go ahead and reuse just these collars here, because these suckers are on there so tight, and you know these are barb fittings. I didn't need to do another video on how to do it because there's so many out there, but this is the way I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and just reuse those little collars. And just to update you on this fuel injectors issue here, I don't know how old these injectors are. They look like they're original. They're in good shape, and I went ahead and removed the pintle caps and you know, the screen. Obviously, here's the leftover parts for what comes out. Okay, less the hosing, obviously. High pressure fuel injection hose, not standard fuel line. Okay, you get this, this is the old one, but anyway, there's your little collar that goes in there. Here's the grommet that gets squished down into the intake, and then it turns into looking like that after it's originally looking just like a sleeve. Then your pintle cap, and this is just a little kind of, what I'll call it plastic, but it's not, obviously. It's heat resistant. But that slides over the metal, and then that tiny little needle that you see sticking out there is about as thick as that edge of this pintle cap. And see that little ridge there? That sits down into your fuel injector. And then I'm gonna see if you can see there's a little tiny little ridge in there. Let's see if I can't zoom it in. See that? Those two little kind of ridges, kind of like a spray can top or something. Well, when you put this on, it actually clicks, okay? And I'll go back. But here's the fuel screens, or the little filters. I think there's a term for these. I don't remember what it is, but those obviously go in the injector, and you take a, you know, just a standard wood screw and a pair of pliers, and it comes right out. Now, some of the other videos out there on how to do the injectors, they show you with the Mr. Injector fuel kit here, they show using like a clamp, like a wood clamp, like one of these things, to put them on. But I took the lazy man method. After I had ultrasonic, disassemble all the fuel injector, taken off the hose, and let me tell you, using that soldering iron method, go and look, Jaguar XJS fuel injector removal soldering iron. Just put that in Google, whatever. You'll see, you'll heat up a soldering iron, just stick it right down in that sleeve. Take a razor blade cut, stick, you know, your soldering iron point right down in that sleeve, and then pop, it'll come right off. And then you just clean that with the little Scotch-Brite pad or whatever. And then ultrasonic everything. When I went back to assemble, you know, I followed everybody else is doing the same thing. You want to, you know, front, back, front, right? This is the front of the engine. And then these are front. And be careful, because some of the injector kits, the replacement hoses are 5.5 inches. My particular model takes 4.5, see? Like that. See all the spacing there? So be careful, because if you put a 5.5 inch hose on there, it's gonna come way out here and then bend back, and you're gonna have this big kind of reverse Q shape going back into your injectors. So assembly, just like everybody's doing out there. However, as far as the pintle cap, What I did was I took one of these nuts that hold the stud on top of your intake. I put it down like that. I put the pintle cap with the little hole right in the middle. Held it like that. Took my fuel injector and just, it takes like 3 pounds of pressure. Just tick, tick, and you'll feel it. Tink, tink. And obviously that little needle there isn't sticking up any further. See how much difference? It's down in there recessed. So I don't have to worry about any of that. However, be careful and inspect these because you get spares in the kit. And there's a reason for that, because when you're putting these on and you hear that click, click, make sure you go back and check the tip of your pintle cap, because I cracked one of these, and this might be it right here. Yep, see that? I cracked one of them. And that would have been bad. So go back, get your magnifying glass or what have you, and double check all that. That's what I did. Then make sure these are on correct. There is a way to put them on incorrect. Flip flop backwards and hole on the inside. They need to go like that, and they need to have that little cutout. So that goes right there. And then the little collar, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little cutout on this ridge, and that needs to go for this. Otherwise, your plug isn't going to sit on there. Not going to click. Okay, then I put the put that on. Then I put the metal sleeve. Then I took the rubber grommet and slid that on, and then finally I took the intake little grommet and put that over the pintle cap. And look at how all that's sealed up real nice. I didn't go and paint everything. You know, these are, you know, just reusing injectors. I used my cheapo little Amazon Think P injector protector, and these are cool. They clip on every single injector in the world, and you just clip them on there, positive, negative, put the mode, and then hit pulse, and then it'll fire it up. I didn't use the whole brake can, put it in there. I don't want to make a mess. What I did was I put it in my ultrasonic cleaner for about, overnight. And then I flipped the basket over and put the injector in there. And while it still had that degreasing compound in there, or cleaner, fuel injector cleaner, I hooked these up, non-flammable by the way, and I hit every single one of these, and it came out in dribbles. And the reason for that is you've got to have your high pressure fuel pump pumping fuel. So it's just going to kind of dribble out of there. It's not going to spray. And you'll see that little pintle. It's like a sewing machine going, and you'll feel it. I had to use mode 8, the long pulse, and then just connect it up to a 12 volt or 6 volt battery, and there you go. It automatically, adjusts the voltage for it. Let's see, what else? Oh, look at this. There's the coil, old original Lucas. And remember, we tested this, so it is good. We've got our Lucas distributor cap with the rotation wheel. Still haven't figured out what that is. I think that's for a vent line, because there is also a vent line hose that goes here. So I think it's got another line. So let's jump back. Oh, one last thing. The air crossover tube, that's what my fuel lines look like. And watch this. Let's see if it'll break. Nope, but it is so, well, it's coming apart in my hand. See that? If your fuel injection hoses look like that, or if they're really hard and they're not pliable like this, I mean, I can push this with my fingers and thumb. And but anyway, if yours are looking like that, man, you're going to cause a fire. And I'm just on the safe side. I want to go ahead and do this. I went ahead and looked at all the spark plugs, the wires. These are in really good shape. The cool thing about these wires is they have the bank A, bank B, and then the numbers. So where's the number on here? Let's see if we can't find it. No, maybe not that one. There you go. 3B. So that's your third cylinder, third spark plug on bank B, which would be the driver's side if you're sitting looking at the car. If you're on this side, that's A, that's B. Back over to the engine bay here. Yeah, we got it cleaned up. I'm gonna let all that WD-40, and I did use a little the indestructible steel garden hose, you know, those flexi hoses, and I just put it on a little jet stream, like a needle stream, and just sprayed it down in there, and then came back with the WD-40. And then, man, once you do use that WD-40 and you get your air nozzle, it'll pretty much degrease it for you, and a little bit of wire brush and some elbow grease, but cleaned everything up really nice down in there. I know, look, I'm just proud of my work here. So getting this thing apart, it's intimidating. It is not hard. It's, you know, you're using your standard old 9/16, 17 millimeter, 13 millimeter. I think I needed to have 17 millimeter wrench for this tensioner here. And you got to do that, and make sure you got to do this nut too. And then you get something down in there and pry your air injection pump that way, and then you'll be able to get off your belt. And then the fun part is getting the bolts off of here on the back with the distributor cap and all that, because they're right in there. And that's pretty tough. And I went ahead and took the coil off because there is no room to get that spark plug down in there. See where it sits? Oh, that's going to be fun. And I used my label maker and my little cheapo, I think it was like $9 or whatever, label maker, and you hook it up to your phone, and printed some number tabs on here, and these are waterproof. It's plastic, and it puts it on there with a laser, so it's not going to wipe off on you like a magic marker or something like that. And I labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the other two are, where are they? Fell down in here, I think. Yep, there they are. So the other two go on there. So, and then I took a video and said, okay, 1 and 2 are here, 3, 4, and 5 are on the back side. And, you know, obviously they have lines on the wires, you know, a black stripe or whatever. And I don't think this spark plug lead, or from the coil to the distributor cap, I don't think that comes off. I think that's actually part of the coil, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to mess it up, you know. Feels like it moves, but it's in good shape. I mean, it's a pliable, good coil wire, just like all these spark plug wires, and they have been heat treated. So, but down in there look real good. I know I'm bouncing around a lot, but hey, this is how I did it. And for documentation purposes, now we've got a little bit of time to wait. I'll let my floor dry off. And then, oh, one last thing. Make sure you disconnect the negative on your battery before you play around in here. You're messing with fuel lines. You're messing with, you know, voltage. That kind of stuff doesn't play well together, and you don't want to burn down your house or anything like that, right? Or your car. So we're going to let this all, let this dry. And I'm going to come back with my air nozzle, and I'm going to clean up around those spark plugs. I'll go lay those spark plugs out, and we're going to see what they look like. They look like they've been in there for a very, very long time, and I can't see a number on them unless you guys can. They're not NGK. It looks like, I don't know. What's the number on there? You guys see it? Anyway, they don't have that little twisty top on them. You know, some spark plugs, they have that little nut thing on the top, and we definitely don't want that. And hopefully whoever put those in used some anti-seize. I do not want to strip ahead. Oh man, that would suck. And then that means everything's got to come apart, and we're helical it, right? So yeah, intimidating, not hard. make a list of how, or even use your phone and make a video and point to stuff. I talk to myself on my videos when I'm doing it and say, yeah, this goes here. See, look, this one goes on this side. Stuff like that. And then the colors of the wires, where they go, where they plug in, because there's no labels on here. And there's so many different wiring in here, or so much different wiring in here. You know, you get something connected backwards, if you could, I mean, something like this, you might short out, you know, a fuse and then never figure out why the fuse keeps blowing, or maybe your car won't even run, right? So I think what I'll do is, while I have that distributor cap off, I might pull that rest of it apart and grease the advance weights. I've seen some recommendations to do that. I don't know if it's ever been done on this car. And then I will test my vacuum advance down in there, just like I tested the fuel pressure regulators up here. I am going to one more time blow some air through the return line over there from that fuel line back to the tank. Just make sure there's no obstructions or anything like that, because, you know, one regulator is working, the other one doesn't, and you're getting too much fuel in there. When I first started the car, it turned over forever, and it wasn't like it wasn't getting fuel, because it would pop. I would push the accelerator down just a little bit more, and then it would catch. And so it was almost like it wasn't getting air. And so, I went back and started troubleshooting. I'm like, well, it does have air injection, but if I open my butterfly, if I push the throttle down, there's a throttle sensor on here. And then even if these little grommet things here are kind of worn, see, remember those? That's not gonna affect too much, so just push the pedal down, and sure enough, she fired right up. I actually let it ride idle, went back there, and it felt on the exhaust, it felt like all the injectors were hitting. It was a nice, just steady bit, like that. Sorry for the sound effect there, but yeah, wonderful, wonderful car. It's hard to work on? No. Is it intimidating to work on? Yes. Is it time consuming? Absolutely. This is 2 days, 2 full days. You know, I would, you know, I mean, I come out and do, you know, 2 or 3 hours here and there, but add it all up, it's probably a good 12 hours total, just to get to this point. I could probably do it way faster than that, but that also includes, you know, redoing the injector, fuel lines, and cleaning everything. And now we've got our brand new, nice, shiny, cleaned up. Look, it's even got the part number, and it's still got the original little plastic things here. Oh, we'll put this on with zip ties. We'll clean up everything that we need to over here. I'll probably ultrasonic the nuts. I will definitely clean the bolts with all the 40 years of goo on it. If you find random washers and nuts and bolts down in the valley of death, in between your cylinder heads, where your distributor lies, see if it fits on one of your bolts that didn't have one when you took it apart. And sure enough, I found that. I found 2 or 3 of these lock washers down there. What else did I find? Oh, I found a piece of plastic that says electrically tested, I don't know, wrists, LED, I don't know, or limited, I don't know what that is. Anyway, yeah, check down in there and see if you find anything. Do not cut your fuel lines. I didn't have to. Some people say that, you know, it's supposed to be 1.7/8. Some people say it's 2 inches and stuff like that. Mr. Injector has already cut these, and you have about a 1/4 inch going on that barb before this, and a 1/4 inch going on the barb down here before your collar down here. And so if you measure, after you put this on, you're gonna have exactly, let's show you. You're gonna have exactly, sorry about the magnet there. Let's see. You're gonna have about exactly 2 1/4 inches. Okay? Now, why'd I bring that up? it's important that this fuel rail not be too high or too low, because remember, you've got your throttle linkages going over the top of it, and your fuel line that plugs in here, and your return line that plugs in over there. I mean, those have to be long enough to, you know, not droop down, not droop up. So these were already pre-cut. I went ahead and used them. Looks like everything's going to work fine. Again, repeating, make sure that you double check how long this hose is on the front injectors. I'm talking about the very front one, the ones that go right next to your air conditioner compressor, because again, if they're too long, you're going to have this kink line and all of that. I went ahead and put that little strap thing back on there that shows you 8 of 88, I think it was. And then here, I'm going to make sure that you see this 5.5 bar Green Shield multi-fuel bio. But let me find the part number. There it is right there. SAE 30R14T2. Okay. That is important. And then right after that, it'll have the date that it was manufactured. This is 2023. And it is not standard fuel line. It's got to be high pressure. Remember, that 30 is your 5.5 bars. So go look that up, right? So your high pressure fuel pump is pumping into your injector rail here, or your fuel rail, going down to your injectors, waiting for the little pintle to get a signal to be grounded to fire an injection of fuel, right? Well, if you're losing pressure at these hoses, your injectors aren't going to work. No matter how much pressure or lack of pressure you have, they're still not going to work, because you're going to have a split in your line here. So, but just like everybody shows, right? Once you put those on there, that sucker is not moving. You shouldn't be able to twist these, either the fuel line on the rail or your injector on the tube. So a little bit of, I guess, helpful information there for you all. And that will do it for this episode. Sorry for the little delay. Yes, I take my time. And yes, I don't get around to posting very often. But now I've got my new little gimbal. Eventually we'll get that drone out when it gets a little bit warmer. And we'll let this thing finish up drying, and then I'll get my airline, and then I'll pull out those spark plugs, like I said, and I'll lay those out. And we'll look at how those spark plugs look and how old they are. All right, folks, thanks. Please subscribe. Consider subscribing to Living with the Classic. I think Jagman Down Under I've been watching, and Camp Chaos Chronicles. A lot of good information on those, about these XJSs and XJ6s, stuff like that. I'm not a master mechanic. I'm not ASC certified. I'm not just some guy in the garage working on cars. And we're going to get this $1,500 car to me. We really don't have a budget, but, you know, get it back to where it'll run and maybe drive, and get it some classic license plates on it. And here in California, I got to smog it because it's newer than 1975 or something. Thanks for not passing that Jay Leno's law. Man, that would have helped a lot of... How many of these cars are on the road? Not many, right? Are they really that bad with pollution? Anyway, opinionated me. Thanks so much. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Subscribe if you want to. If not, we'll talk to you later. Bye.